Hello dear students! Welcome to the pilot episode of Musikasyon. Hatid ng musika ay kaalaman at inspirasyon. This is a place where you are welcome to join me in exploring the interesting history of music and be inspired as we learn and listen to the melodies of the past. This is Teacher Jen, your guide in discovering the wonderful world of 20th century music. Let us first talk about your favorite genre of music. What music do you usually listen to? Are you into rock? How about bossa nova? Or maybe hip-hop. I'm sure that you enjoy listening to different genres like I do. Did you know that the songs that we love have gone through several phases of development? That's right. The evolution of modern songs can be traced back to the early 20th century, where they explored new forms and sounds that challenged the previously accepted rules of music. Can you think of some songs that can be considered experimental when it was released? For me, I would say Bohemian Rhapsody is one of those. Did you know that it took 7 years before this song is finished and released? In Bohemian Rhapsody, each section of the song is contrasting from the others, and it combined many different musical styles. In today's lesson, we are going to discover the roots of today's music and get to know some of the composers for this style. Are you ready? It's time for a rewind in the music of the past. When you were in grade 9, you learned about Western music and its history from the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, Baroque, Classical, and the Romantic period. In the Middle Ages, music was monophonic, meaning a single voice or melody line. Music at this time was also modal, meaning it wasn't based in any key. Music modes are basically the early form of key signatures. The Renaissance followed on and was for musicians an era of discovery, innovation, and exploration. The name means rebirth. Most music written during this period is intended to be sung either as large choral pieces in church or as songs or madrigals. The Baroque period included composers like Bach, Vivaldi, and Handel. They pioneered new styles like the concerto and the sonata. This period is commonly known for complex pieces and intricate harmonies. The classical period is most known for its compulsion for structural clarity in music. The harpsichord was officially replaced with the piano. Orchestras increased in size, range, and power, and instrumentation overall had a lighter, more evident texture than Baroque music, making it less complicated. The Romantic era was the golden age of the virtuoso, where the most difficult music would be performed with ease. Instrumentation became even more prominent, with orchestras growing to higher numbers than ever before. Composers experimented in new ways, trying out unique instrumentation combinations and reaching new horizons in harmony. Public concerts and operas moved away from the exclusivity of royalty and riches and into the hands of the urban middle-class society for all to enjoy. Composers also took interest in art and literature and started writing program music. While the Romantic artists were inspired by strong emotions and imagination, another style emerged in reaction against the Romantic style, which is Impressionism. The artists in this movement focused on suggestion and atmosphere rather than depicting emotions as seen in the works of Romantic era. Have you experienced listening to a piece of music that can transport you to a peaceful place like an open field where the wind blows gently? It's so relaxing, right? How about music that can bring you the experience of being out in the sea? Sometimes it's calm, but sometimes it's not. It's intense, right? It can be as intense as the clashing of large waves coupled with the howling of strong winds. Impressionism is a French movement from the late 19th to the early 20th century. It took place between 1890 to 1920. From the word impression, the whole idea with Impressionism was that artists and musicians were drawn to conveying moods with their music instead of actually depicting reality. But how do you know if you are listening to Impressionist music? One example that adapts the characteristics of Impressionism is what we call ambient music. These are often used as background music. This style has an element of space when you listen to it. Are you familiar with ambient music? We can summarize the characteristics of Impressionism into 3 words: color, atmosphere, and chords. Color is not just something you see. You can hear it as well. In music, we call it timbre, or the quality and tone of a sound which makes it unique. For instance, you can recognize the difference between the sound of a lead guitar versus a bass guitar. Because each instrument has its own distinct timbre, and it helps us judge whether what we're listening to is a lead guitar or a bass guitar. Close your eyes. What color comes to your mind when you hear this? Is the sound bright or dark? How about when you hear this? Does it sound bright or dark? Impressionist music made use of dark colors through orchestration. Instruments were played in new ways, like flutes, French horn clarinets playing darker, lower sounds. While those felt dark, these give out shimmer. Now listen to this example and try to listen to the parts where instruments are playing lower sounds. That is Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun by Claude Debussy. Notice that the quality of music was affected by the way the instruments played lower sounds. Listen. These lower sounds and notes give that mysterious feel to the music, which is very evident in Impressionist music. The second characteristic has something to do with atmosphere. Impressionist music focuses on mood and atmosphere, meaning when you listen to Impressionist music, it's as if you are being transported to another place, whether that place be real or imagined. Listen to this example, Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy, and answer the questions that follow. Does this music sound familiar to you? Did you know that this music was used in the movie Twilight? Clair de Lune is French for light of the moon or moonlight. Just by listening to it, you can easily have an impression about the mood that it wants to suggest, like the night hour or a peaceful and quiet place. The last characteristic of Impressionist music is the use of chords. Composers of Impressionism experimented with writing music by using unusual scales. What are these unusual scales? Impressionist composers like Debussy made extensive use of whole tone scale. In music, a whole tone scale is a scale in which each note is separated from the next by the interval of a whole tone or whole step. A major scale, which is the common scale that we know, sounds like this. The notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and ends in C. While the whole tone scale sounds like this. C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and then C. Again, this is a major scale. And this is a whole tone scale. Did you recognize the difference? Remember that the whole tone scale is made up entirely of whole step intervals or tones. Whole tones are quite rare in music, but an example of popular song that used whole tone scale is "You Are the Sunshine of My Life" by Stevie Wonder. Why do you think composers experimented with music this way? Because the effect of using these scales is to create a very different sound that distinguishes this movement from any that has gone before. Have you also tried experimenting with music? Like singing a song in a different version? That would be cool, right? Now let's talk about the composers who played key roles in this movement. Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel were the main men of Impressionist music. They were both French composers during the turn of the 20th century and beyond. Claude Debussy was known as the father of the modern school of composition. He was the principal exponent of the Impressionist movement and the inspiration for other Impressionist composers. Debussy reformed the course of musical development by eliminating traditional rules and conventions into a new language of possibilities in harmony, rhythm, form, texture, and color. Another well-known composer of Impressionist music is Maurice Ravel. His works, as compared to that of Debussy, are defined with extended chordal components. It demands considerable technical virtuosity or skill of a virtuoso, a person who is exemplary in musical technique or execution. It's now time to see if you have learned something from what we have discussed. Grab your pen and paper and write down your answers. Ready? Number 1. It is a characteristic of Impressionist music where instruments were played to create a darker sound. The correct answer is use of tone color. Number 2. He was the father of the modern school of composition. The correct answer is Claude Debussy. Number 3. It is a characteristic of Impressionist music where whole tone method of writing was introduced. The answer is unusual scales. Number 4. It is a compositional work for the moonlight. The correct answer is Clair de Lune. Lastly, he is the composer of the piece titled Bolero. The correct answer is Maurice Ravel. Did you get all the answers correctly? I do hope so. To summarize, here are the key points of what we have learned today. Impressionism is a French movement in the late 19th and early 20th century. Music of Impressionism is characterized by the use of tone color, atmosphere in music, and the use of unusual chords. The proponents for this style of music are Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel. Music does not only help us connect with each other, but it also helps us understand why we appreciate the music that we listen to in today's generation. What do you think would happen if there were no experimentations and new discoveries in writing music? The music will just be monotonous to listen to. So let's be thankful that we had genius composers like Debussy and Ravel from Impressionism who were not afraid of trying something new that we could appreciate later on. In our next lesson, you will learn about another style of music succeeding Impressionism, and for sure, most of you have heard of this style of music in some of the intense movies that you've watched. As an assignment, read ahead your self-learning module about the Expressionism in music. Once again, this is Teacher Jen, your guide in discovering the wonderful world of 20th century music. Always remember, there is music in you, and the most powerful instrument that you have is that passion to keep learning. This is Musikasyon. Hatid ng musika ay kaalaman at inspirasyon. See you in the next one!